Hey guys, it's Nicole Eaton with the Rock Your Soul book and podcast, where we talk about how to hack your mindset, grow your intuition, and live your best life. You can support this podcast by subscribing, leaving a positive review, and screenshot and sharing on social media. The following is an excerpt from Nicole's recent live video on her Rock Your Soul Facebook group. To join in on the fun, type in facebook.com/groups/rockyoursoulclarity. All of September, I will be coming live Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time to help you level up your September, help you grow your confidence, get you into the energy to achieve your goals.
But I'll tell you what, I'm so excited. I'm usually not a fall person. I'm gonna preface that. I'm not a fall person, but there is really big magic to September. And so I'm hoping that you take this energy and run with it because it is productive. It is really detail oriented. It's about getting organized. Like we're in a new moon energy and it's superior. Okay. So I'm not an astrologer, but I will tell you this energy right now is fucking special. And I want you to utilize it to improve your life and to feel good. Like I said, this is some stuff that I have been working on embodying. So I always like to practice what I preach. And it's really important to me that I practice what I preach. So all of the things that I teach are things that I do in my personal life. They're things that I know work because they've changed my life. So I'm setting you guys up for a fucking epic September. I'm setting myself up for an epic September, and I'm just stoked. If you didn't catch my last live video, today is the official launch date of the Comeback course. This is a course I did live back in November. Super successful course. It is loaded. I mean, this course is 7 hours, and it is take at your own pace. Each module has its own week. You can go through, it's really energy heavy. It's really talks about how to manage your energy. So if you're an empath and you're somebody who's like really getting absorbed by other people's energy, it's a really great course for you. But it also goes into mindset, forgiveness of your past, reclaiming yourself, manifesting your future. So that is a good one that is live tonight. The other cool thing is I've officially launched an affiliate program. So if you took that course and you loved it, and you want to shout out to the world and someone buys it from you, you'll make 15% off the sale. So that goes for courses, that goes for soul therapy, anything you've loved with me, you can make money off of now. So that helps me, it helps you. Taking a moment when you wake up in the morning to get grounded, especially, actually, I just listened to a podcast by Ed Mylett. It was on Superhuman something, but it's like one of his last recent ones. So it's basically, it talked about the power of grounding to actually heal so many cells. So he was talking about it as your cells initially had, it was like your phone has a charger, your cells had a charger, and it was the earth. The earth's magnetism is your charger. So when you ground your energy, whether that's planting, gardening, being outside, walking barefoot on the ground, on a grounding mat, anything that you do to ground, that is like your cells recharging. And he was the man who was speaking about it, Ed Mylett and some other guy, I can't recall his name off the top of my head, but he was talking about when you put your feet on the ground for 10, 15, 20 minutes, you recharge the cells, and that diminishes almost 100 disorders. Like that will resolve almost 100 disorders because it has anti-inflammatory, it gives us energy, and it basically is restoring our initial magnetism. So we're always tired because we walk around all day, but we never touch the earth. So just something to think about as you're going through your day. But even if you don't want to go outside and you're not a big outside person, you can literally just wake up, put your feet on the floor, and breathe up through your feet. Just that idea. I always like to think of it as a straw. And I know that sounds really silly and you're kind of like, that doesn't quite make sense. But when you do it, it absolutely makes sense. And you can feel that visualization pulling up from the earth. So being grounded in your body is important. A lot of times when we do spiritual work, it's awesome. It's amazing. We feel light. We feel airy. And then we feel like we can't pay attention or store any information because when we're super spiritual, we've connected so much with the light that our spiritual body cuts up and above our physical body. And then it's like our head's not aligned, our feet aren't aligned, and we're kind of spacey or we forget easy. So if you're somebody who's like, I have such a hard time focusing, that is a sign that you're not grounded. So extra grounding for you this week. We're in a new moon energy. It's a perfect time to just reset some routines in your life to get more organized in who you are and what you need. But definitely add this to your day because I really I just feel so strongly about when we're grounded, we feel more centered. When we feel more centered, we make better choices. And this whole month and this whole course is about choices. It's about making better choices for yourself. It's about standing strong in your power and feeling confident moving forward. And part of that confidence is asking yourself, what stories do I have? If during that meditation, you came up with something of like, when I said, what do you need right now? I just wanted you to write that down. I just want you to honor that for a moment of whatever came up, whatever your soul was trying to tell you, whatever came up, I just want you to write that down. We're going to give it extra love, extra attention. We're going to let the universe know we're listening. Because the thing is our intuition and our soul and the universe is speaking to us at all times. But it comes to this point in time where we get so busy in our external life, and like summer just happened and we've had this holiday weekend, and we get so busy in our day-to-day lives that it's so hard for us to bring our energy back inside. So when we take deep breaths, when we connect with the earth, when we do those things, we give ourselves permission to connect to our body and connect to our soul. And when we connect to the soul, we're actually plugging into the universe. We're plugging into our intuition. We're plugging into that internal guidance. So internal guidance is so funny. I actually wrote down when we bring our energy and focus in, we invite the universe in. Because as much as we want to believe the universe is out there, it's in here. And it speaks to us in here. And obviously sometimes we see external things, but when we're really plugged in, it's because we're here. I talked a lot about self-abandonment in my podcast last week. I talked a lot about like, are you somebody who sacrifices yourself? Are you somebody who gets so externally busy that you forget yourself? Are you somebody who has to people please and sacrifice your needs? This is about you. Today is about you. Tonight is about you. And I hope you join me every Monday for the next couple weeks, because this time period is about you becoming a better version of yourself. So what I'll ask you to do right now is just take a quick inventory of your life. Okay, I just want you to go through relationships, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your health, how you feel about your kids, how you feel about your job, and just explore what's working, what's not working. What is my baseline emotion when it comes to each of those? So your baseline emotion is the emotion that is regular for that experience. So when you wake up in the morning, what are you most likely to feel throughout the day? Is it joy? Is it tiredness? Is it boredom? Is it sadness? What is that baseline emotion for you? And what is it in each experience? What do you feel in your relationships? When you think about your relationships, what is that baseline emotion? What is the most commonly experienced emotion? And this is important, okay? This is important because our baseline emotion is the emotion we return to automatically. This is the emotion we've kind of mentally set for ourselves, that this has happened so much that we know that the relationships associate with this. Career associates with this emotion. So it's all about being able to link in and connect with that same emotion. That is our baseline emotion, is when we automatically go there without even thinking too much about it. It's just, man, I feel sad when I think about work, or I feel immediately stressed, or I feel overwhelmed when I think about my kids, or I feel whatever that baseline emotion. And maybe some of them are really awesome. Maybe sometimes when you wake up, you're just always in a good mood. But I just want you to take a good inventory. Like, what would you prefer life look like? What would you prefer ideally? If everything had changed like that, what would be different? What could go really well? So take a moment and just jot that down. I just want you to explore, because we're bringing our energy back in, because the universe is in here. And if we can access our truth, we can access the universe. The cool thing is that our lives can change like that. And if you've ever had a life-changing moment, good or bad, you know that, right? That everything could be seemingly going one way and it just pivots a different way. And so we know that our realities are nothing more than what we know. And that if we desire and we choose and we decide to change them, that can happen instantaneously. So right now, maybe you're looking at life and you're looking at things in your life and you're looking at areas of your life and you're like, this isn't quite what I, want for myself. Maybe this is an area that just has a lot of my focus, time, and attention. And it's not in a positive way. what would be ideal right now? What could, if it changed for better tomorrow, what would that look like? When we have that low baseline emotion, we get into this area of our life where we are in survival mode, and it's not intentional living. And so if we think of, if we're in survival mode, and I want you to think of our ancestors, right? When they were in survival mode, it was because there was an immediate threat in their physical vicinity and they would have to prepare for fight or flight. We still do that shit. We still do that shit with made up things. Like anything in our head, if we make it up, we can feel threatened by it and we can fight, flight, or freeze. So if we have this survival instinct, we're going to look for the things directly in front of us. We're going to look for the doorway. We're going to look for the exit. We're going to try to get out of it, or we're going to gear up and our body will release the cortisol and the adrenaline to fight it. So if we know that we're doing this, right? We know that when we're in survival mode, we have limited options. And that's the one thing I want you to think about. When you're in those low level emotions and when you're in that fight or flight energy and we're in that stressed environment or stressed mindset, we're in a flight or fight mode. And when we're in fight or flight, we have limited possibility. So I don't know if you've ever been really stressed out and you're trying to figure it out and you're trying to figure it out and you're not getting anywhere other than spending a lot of time figuring it out. You're in fight or flight mode. You're in survival mode, which means that you're looking for one or two options of how this can go. The thing is an elephant could charge through the room right now. Not as likely, but it's not impossible, because maybe a truck transporting an elephant breaks down over there and it breaks loose. You never fucking know. You don't know what's possible until you start giving permission for the universe to show you what's possible. We don't have to decide how things need to change. And I think that is a huge hang up when it comes to changing your life, is you want to decide how that has to happen. Maybe I want things to look better in this area, but I just can't even figure out how that would occur. We don't have to decide how. We just have to decide that it can and it will. And so I love using the words, I choose to be willing to see things differently. I choose to be willing to know and believe that I can have whatever, that I can feel whatever, that I can do whatever. So our choosing to be willing to believe something is vital to starting to believe it. Because if you've done anything with me, if you've listened to any of my podcasts, then you know that what we believe to be true, we will see in our external environment. That our brain is nothing more than a Google search bar that we type in our thought and our brain will look for it. So when we start to decide differently for ourselves, it is powerful, because what we're saying is, I am getting out of survival mode of those limited possibilities for myself, and I am diving deep into the possibility that anything can happen right now. And that's intentional living. There is such a difference between being in survival, stressed out mood and intentional living. When we are in intentional living, we are creating our world. When we are in survival, we are a victim to it. So our job is to get out of survival by just noticing, oh fuck, I'm in survival again. That's not working for me, because I know that I'm only seeing the doors that I can see. I'm not even seeing the exit in the back that somebody carved out while I was looking forward. The universe is carving out while I was looking forward. So when we switch into intentional living, we start with deciding. And there is the most power in deciding. There is the most power in deciding something for yourself. So if you've been in an area, and most areas of our life that feel messy are because we're in between decisions. Because we don't know what we want. And when we don't know what we want, we don't give it permission. When we decide, it's like sending the universe a signal saying, okay, help me find a pathway to this. When we decide, we say, help me find a pathway to this. When we decide, we also give our trust over to the universe to help us with the possibility aspect. So your power in this September moment is to start to decide to choose to be willing to see things differently, to start to decide that better things can happen for you, to start to decide that realities exist that are different than this. That anything's possible in this moment, and the possibilities aren't even in your frame of reference yet because you haven't seen them, because the universe hasn't presented them to you. Because when we're in indecision, when we are in a space of, and you can tell because you'll say, I don't know. If you've said, I don't know recently, or I feel stuck, or I feel confused, I don't know what to do, what you're telling the universe and what you're telling your brain is to look for things to not know about. So when you're conflicted, you're getting both your brain searching for things that are conflicting, and then the universe giving you things that are conflicting, because it's doing what you tell it to, and that's it. And it's so simple. It's so simple. It's so easy to change your life when you start to decide. It's so easy to change your life when you start to realize you can't fuck it up. You can't do it wrong. You can't make the wrong decision. You can only make the soul-aligned decision and see where it goes. And it's powerful when you start to decide. It's powerful when you start to step into something that's a little bit better. Because I promise you, the universe wants to help you. I promise you, the universe is literally just waiting for you to open up to it. Because I'll tell you what, the universe has never jumped in and been like, that guy's super toxic, get out of there. You know, once in a great while, right? Once in a great while, something massive will happen. But a lot of times we go back to situations that suck because it's familiar, because we have free will, because the universe can't jump in and save us every freaking time. We do have free will, and that also means we get to invite the universe in. So if you're in a space of indecision and you're like, Nicole, I really just don't freaking know what I want to do here. I really don't know. I want you to ask the universe for help. I want you to say, God, angels, universe, show me the next right step for me. Show me my power in this. Show me what to do next. And I want you to anticipate that the next right thing to do is always there. It's always there. The next right step, the next right words, the next right thing, the next inspiration, the next motivation is always there. Because when we start to decide that all the things that we want to have are just actually already our reality, and we just have to claim it, that's a whole different level of power. When you start to decide that a better life and a better version of you isn't coming, it's not on its way, it's just inevitable, that's your fucking power. What if it was just inevitable? Would you be different? Would you act differently? Would you feel different? Would you be more powerful? Would you make bolder choices? Because that's the thing, is when we claim something for ourselves, when we say, I don't really know how this is going to happen, but I choose to see things differently. I choose to follow the path that I'm feeling in my heart. I choose to let the universe guide me. When you start to invite that energy in, it's inevitable. It's inevitable that you get a better life. And instead of it being like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened, it's of course it did. Of course it did, because it was destined for you. All this good shit was destined for you. All of it. It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise that something good gets to happen to you. You've claimed it. You've decided. And I think one of the things that actually proved this to me was my husband plays baseball, and he played with a guy who's really good friends with Barry Bonds. He's one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And anytime I hear about somebody who's like not just good at their job, but like epic pro champion level at their job, there's one very important thing I noticed, is that there is no doubt in their minds that they are going to get what they want. There's not a doubt. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. It's just, that's what it is. And I think there's a quote by Muhammad Ali that was like, I said I was the greatest of all time before I actually was. There is a belief in a claim, in an embodiment of things that we can choose that allow that pathway to just find us. A lot of people feel like, I've got to work really hard, and I've got to do this, and I've got to climb the ladder. And at the end of the day, what if it's just inevitable? What if your greatness, your success, your happiness, your joy, your love, your abundance, what if that is just already fucking yours? What if it is? Like, what does that change about how you interact with your world? Do you just show up now? Do you just be your full self because you know that in every area of your life, when you're the real you, people respond positively, and the right people respond positively, and the better things come in and opportunities show up when you're fully yourself? Because when you are in your light, things that are for you cannot refuse you. When you are in your true light, things that are meant for you cannot refuse you. It just finds you. You don't even have to work for it. One of my favorite affirmations of all time is, I don't chase, I attract. All the things that are meant for me simply find me. All the things that are best, in my best and highest good, simply find me. And that's powerful. When we start to decide our fate instead of leaving it to what if, instead of doubting ourselves. So this is part of rewriting your story. is identifying what you need, identifying what you're doing, and then deciding. We're not going to figure out how it has to be different. We're just going to decide that it does, because when we decide that it does, our brain goes into overdrive, helping us get there, and the universe goes into overdrive, helping us get there. And our power comes in those questions. Our power comes in asking our brain, asking the universe the right questions. Because when I say, like, how am I going to do this? The brain is in survival mode. It only has limited options. But if I pose the question to the universe, show me a better way, that's huge, right? Show me how to be a better version of myself. When I jumped on this today, I was like, what is the right thing that needs to be said? I had a little bit of a plan, but I'll tell you that the universe fills in the gaps because I open up to it. When you open up to the universe to show you a better way, when you create, and I've been saying this a lot lately, ask for the universe's help, not in the desperation place, but in the process of getting there. Ask for guidance. Ask for what you're going to do today. Ask for the next right move as you're going. When you start to place your trust in the universe, it's a fucking game changer. When you start to place your trust in the universe, like, it eliminates all the stuff you have to worry about. Because the thing is, we don't really have to worry about any of it. If we approach things with a peaceful, calm energy, it gets to us quicker because we don't have resistance of worry. Our negative energy, it creates a wall of resistance. So I want you to think of, like, as you're worrying about something, I want you to just remind yourself, okay, is this my ideal outcome? Is this helping me in any way? What if I think about this consistently, what will it have me see? What will my brain start looking for? Because when we start telling ourselves stories about who we are in the world or what we're like, I know when I was little, I was super shy. And I knew I was shy because my mom would tell everybody I was shy. When she would introduce me, she'd be like, oh, Nicole's really shy. She doesn't talk. And I just thought, okay, I'm shy. I'm shy, and shy people don't talk. And so it took me a really long time to recognize that I'm actually not shy. I'm not shy at all. I can be quieter because I'm an observer, but I'm not shy. And so when my kids go into that mode where they're like, oh, I'm scared or I'm shy, I'm like, you're scared, but you don't have to be scared because we can work through fear. So all of our stories are accumulated through people who mean well, people who love you, experiences we had once or twice that have really stuck with us. And so when we start pulling them forward and asking if there's something that's useful or something that we need, then we can look at them a little more closely of like, man, I've had this story that people don't show up for me. I have this story that people don't show up for me. So what am I going to see? Does that feel good? And I think the golden rule of an emotion and of a thought is if it doesn't feel good, it's probably not true. We self-sabotage a lot through our thought process, and we self-sabotage a lot through believing that you're not good enough or that you don't deserve things. Like, why the fuck not? Like, why don't you deserve the things? Like, why can't you have what somebody else has that you desire? Why can't you have the love? Why can't you have the success? Why can't you have the money? Why can't you be just as good? You're not the exception to the rule. You are the rule. And when you know you're the rule, when you know that if you claim and if you decide and if you level up, you know that's a game changer. That's powerful. That's claiming energy. That's queen shit. I was on a boat in Mexico this summer, and I was doing a lot of this embodiment work that I'm talking to you about, just deciding that it's inevitable that I get to do the things I want to do. It's inevitable. And I was like, okay, so queen, everybody opens the door for the queen, right? Everybody, does the things so the queen can be who she is and be in the power energy that she's in. And that is the queen. That is the queen energy, right? So I was doing all this work on, like, what would the queen do right now? Like, how would she let people help her? Because that's been an area that I'm not great at. That's an area that I'm improving every day at, is letting people help me. So the queen lets people take care of her. So I'm on this boat in Mexico, and we have we went in with a bunch of other people, and we have servers on this boat, okay? So there's people who are bringing us cocktails, there's people who are bringing us pillows to, like, lay across the thing. But the thing that stood out for me the most is I'm, like, laying on the paddleboard in the middle of the ocean, and the bartender's like, hey, do you want a drink? And I'm like, yeah, like, I'll be in a second, that would be great. And so I am laying there, and the next thing I know, this man dives in the water with his Like he is holding my drink in the air and swimming with one arm out to me on the paddleboard. And I was like, oh my God, like, sir, you didn't need to do that. I was coming in. I probably like, and he was like, no, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And so I just had this moment. I'm like, oh, this is queen shit. So you can manifest the energy of being taken care of or whatever it is you desire by just starting to decide that you deserve that, starting to decide that you deserve differently, starting to decide that you're worthy of love and belonging, starting to decide that people get to treat you well. You are worth being treated well. You are worth having people in your life that love you, that are excited about you, that show up for you, that are consistent for you in the ways that you desire, in the ways that you receive love. You are worthy of a profession and a career that feels really good to you, that feels like it lights you up, that makes you feel really good inside, that makes you move up quickly. You are worthy of those things. And so when you start to shift that story that maybe you're not into maybe you are, what if you are? I'm writing this book called Rock Your Comeback. And in it, I write about what affirmations. And so we talk a lot about affirmations. I'm big on affirmations. Y'all know me. I love a good affirmation. An affirmation, if you're not familiar, is an I am statement that starts to tell your brain to look for something different. So instead of feeling insecure, I'm growing more confident every day. So that's an affirmation. So when we do what affirmations, we give our brain that flex space when we have a really strong belief, like I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm so insecure, I'm an insecure person. What if I wasn't? What if I was confident? That's a lot different and more accepted by our brains than I am confident. So when we use what affirmations, we give ourselves that flexibility for our brain to not reject our new statement and our new thought, and we give our brain a chance to look for a possibility. And that's profound, because when we start to challenge our thoughts, we start to find new evidence of new things, because that's all our brain is trying to do. It's trying to be right. It's trying to be right with what you're telling it. It's like software. Your brain is like software. And so if you have a program that has been running since 1980, like that is your program that's been running since 1980. So when we start to pose new affirmations, what affirmations, we start to pose the possibility that, maybe we could start looking for some evidence that it's not. We can look for evidence internally, we can look for evidence externally, and we can start to develop proof that these new beliefs can happen, that these new ideas can happen, that these new stories that we're creating and designing and intentional living rather than survival are possible for us. And that's powerful. When you start to decide, when you start to create rather than play victim to your universe, the universe creates a pathway because it's inevitable, because you get to have the things you desire, because you get to be the person you want to become. Anything else is probably just playing small. Anything else is probably just settling. So if you're taking that inventory of your life and you're like, that doesn't feel good. I don't like this area of my life. I want to make it a little bit better. We don't get to decide how, but we do get to decide that it is, that it can be, that we're choosing to be willing to believe it can happen. There is so much power within you. I was actually reading a book, How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole LePera. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's the holistic psychologist on Instagram. So if you follow her, awesome. It's a very psychology-based, super great book. She was talking about the power of our brain, and I'm obviously obsessed with that. That's like my jam. So I'm diving into this book, and she's talking about the placebo effect. Everybody knows the placebo effect. It's when you believe something is happening, when you take a pill and it makes you feel better even though it's just sugar. It's just one of those things that if we believe something works for us, it does, because our brain doesn't know what's real and what's not real. It's what we tell it is real. So she was sharing a story about the nocebo effect. And the nocebo effect is the same idea, but in reverse, that we can believe that negative things can happen, our body responds accordingly. So there was this story she was telling about a man who was on basically a study for antidepressants. And so he was given antidepressants, which were a sugar pill. It wasn't a real, it was a placebo. And so he was taking these antidepressants, and they were trying to get a report of were people feeling better because they thought they were taking a medicine that made them feel better. Well, this man got in a fight with his girlfriend, and he ended up taking the entire bottle. So he took the entire bottle of what he thought was antidepressants, which would have been lethal to him. and his blood pressure dropped. He lost consciousness and ended up in the emergency room. They ran a toxicology, and he had nothing in his system that would have caused that. His cause of his entire body malfunctioning momentarily was based on his belief that it was malfunctioning momentarily because he overdosed. So our brains are that powerful, and our body is always responding to what it is being told by our brain. Then we know that we have the opportunity to go in and change it all through this. So when we reclaim our power, when we start choosing different thoughts, and the thing about choosing different thoughts is a practice. It's a practice. You have to practice choosing different thoughts. You have to start the process. And I love to do this through writing it out. As you guys know, I posted the writing manifestation course is in the comeback course. So if you're like, I want access to that, it's inside the comeback course. So you can actually do the whole writing program that I do every single day that has changed my life from being broke, in debt, and ready to file bankruptcy to being in a space that is very cushy, I'm in a really happy place in my life. So I went from that to that through writing, through redeciding what my life was going to look like, through redeciding how I was going to be and interact in my life. And it was just a choice I made. So you can do that through your brain, and your body will respond, the universe will respond, and your thoughts will start to look for evidence. And that's the power. Deciding that you get to have it, deciding that it's inevitable for you. And you get to ask yourself better questions. What if? What if good stuff can happen for me? What if it gets to work? What if I do get this job? What if this person does fall in love with me? What if this works? And watch the universe respond, and we start to shift anything. Actually, I really wanted to call this Holy Shift September. I'm still internally calling it that. I'm going to call it Level Up September for everybody else, but Holy Shift September is what I was really thinking about because I thought it was really funny. Because I feel like September is full of shifts, and it's full of reclaiming your energy. So decide right now that you get to have the things you want to have. You get to feel better. You get to go from feeling sad or depressed or off into a more powerful place in your life. You get to have the things you want. You are the rule. You're not the exception. So when you start to claim that energy, it feels different. It feels powerful. It feels like it puts you in a different energy to receive the things you want to receive. Because when you're in a good space, when you are actively looking for joy in your life, it will find you. It will match. Your energy will always match externally. I promise you that. If you're in a good mood, and I always think of it like this. Have you ever had a bad day and it just kept getting worse? Your energy will match. If you've ever had a good day and it just felt like it kept getting better, your energy will match. So it's your job in September to start to decide differently for yourself. It's your job in September to shift your life through your thoughts, through your stories. What do you want to tell yourself about how it's going to go? What about that situation that you're worrying about? How would you prefer it to go? When we start to take our power back by deciding differently, it's a game changer. When we start to take our power back by deciding how we'd like it to go, your power is in the decision. Your power is in not deciding how that has to happen, just that it gets to. That you get to live a better life, that you get to feel better, that everything can happen now, that everything can happen easier than you thought. I hate there needing to be a process for things. I don't believe process has to be a huge part of our lives. I think that we can actually change things for ourselves by just simply deciding that it gets to change, by deciding that it can be easier than it's ever been, by deciding that feeling better is easier than it's ever been. It's like, why didn't I do this before? Inviting the universe, God, angels in to guide me to my better spot. It's like the next right step's always there. It's always there because it is. It's always there because it's inevitable. So when we start to program ourselves to talk like that, and it is programming, and that's all it is. We're creating a new software program in your mind and in the universal space and in the energy space around you to pull better things in. And it's that easy. It's that easy as revisiting it in the morning, revisiting it at night before you go to bed. It's that easy as listening to affirmations while you're putting on your makeup or doing your hair. It's that easy as writing before bed. It's that easy as deciding if you go into a meeting how you want it to go, how you want to feel, how you want people to perceive you. Decide, because the universe will make pathways, your brain will make pathways, and it will all resolve. Start writing better stories, but that also comes with recognizing the ones that weren't working. Recognize the ones that are keeping you small, recognize the ones built out of fear, recognizing the ones from old patterns, old people that like we don't need anymore. Because it's easier in old stories that, you know, people made us doubt ourselves. We have negativity bias. Our brain does pay more attention to negative things, which when we were, you know, in prehistoric times, that was really important that our brain paid attention to negative things because then we didn't die. Like that was really important once upon a time. So we can recognize that our brain does that naturally, and then we have to be intentional about what we decide to input. What are you going to type into the Google search bar? What life are you going to create? We're done with survival living. That's old news. That's 2020. We don't do that anymore. And that's another favorite of mine. I don't do that anymore. I'm not that person anymore. That's wasting my time and energy. This is who I am now. And if we think of Muhammad Ali, if we think of Barry Bonds, this is just who I am now. I get to have the life I desire. I get to have everything I ever wanted. I get to have it because I'm an extension of the universal energy. And when I pull my energy back inside of me and I focus here, when I stop focusing on all the external things and I come back within, I have access to the universe and the universe has access to all the possibilities. So my encouragement to you is to decide, but also to pull your energy back. So meditation. In my comeback course, there is a meditation for each lesson. So each lesson has its own detailed meditation that goes with it to help amplify that piece of things. So whether it's energy, whether it's forgiveness, whether it's mindset, whether it's manifestation, it all has its own personalized meditation so that you can work just that week on just getting your energy right, working just that week on just releasing the past, work just that week on taking things into a different energy. I will be back next Monday with some more goodness. If you have anything that you're like, please talk about, Nicole, I need help with this specific thing or this specific area, or I have just questions that are coming up for me, let me know, tag me in it. I'm super excited for this month. I'm going to set the intention that it is amazing for you all. I love you. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Rock Your Soul book and podcast. Take a moment to book a one-on-one session with me or purchase my trainings at NicoleEaton.com. Join the Rock Your Soul Facebook group or follow me on Instagram at NicoleEaton.xo. And if you loved this podcast, don't forget to share it. Thank you.